witches? I am High Priestess Orson Phoenix. Thank you for joining me for this live broadcast about the differences between born witches and witches that are made. This title was actually called, What is the Difference? Is there a difference between witches that are born that way and witches who become witches? First things first, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Anybody can be a witch, male or female. You cannot deny men access to the craft. Now listen, you can have a coven for just females, but many covens today have males and females. So it's co-ed. So yes, men can be witches. Men are not warlocks or wizards. You are a witch despite what is in between your legs. A witch is a witch, is a witch, and also a witch. So let's just clear that out, okay? Because there's a lot of conflict on welcoming men to the craft, and there should not be. There are stark differences between those who are born witches and those who become witches. Me personally, I was born a witch. What does that mean? How do you know you were born a witch? I know that I was born a witch because since I was a little girl, I always had supernatural and paranormal experiences. Ever since I was a little girl, I always had supernatural and paranormal experiences. I am by nature, by my very nature, I am psychic. I do know the future. I mean the real future. The past, the present, and the future. I know it. I know it. I'm never wrong. And no, I'm not bragging. You see, when you talk to people who are not naturally psychic, they believe that you are bragging. No, get out of that. I'm not bragging. This is not about me. This is about you. This is about the difference between people who are born witches and those who become witches. So for me personally, ever since I was a little girl, I always had supernatural experiences. Ever since I was a little girl, I could just wish for something and it would materialize. I could say something and it would happen as the way I spoke it or the way I thought it. And I learned very young that I am right all the time. All the time. Never any confusion. And when I was a Christian, remember I'm a former Christian. I'm a former devout follower of Christ, okay? When I was in the church, it was always suppressed. It was always, that's demons talking through her. How does she know that? How can she know that? Where is she getting this information? Why is she so wise beyond her years? Why? The church always contributed that to me being, demonically possessed. Because nobody can know the future but Christ. That's bullshit. You know how you become psychic if you're not born psychic? By constantly listening and acting on what your intuition tells you. If you ignore your intuition level goes down. It goes way down. Almost like a rock that has been thrown in the water, just sinking to the bottom. But for me personally, it comes easily for me. I have always had experience with ghosts. I can see ghosts. I can see them. Sometimes they're transparent. Sometimes they are as real as you and I. So I've always been involved with the supernatural, always. But what is the difference between those people who are born witches and those people who become witches? People who are born witches, they are psychic by nature, by their very nature. Every witch that is born a witch is just in the know. They just know the future. They just know the past. They just know the present. They just know. Some witches don't know that they are witches and don't know why they have all of these experiences, all of these supernatural experiences, all of these paranormal experiences. They don't know why. One sign that you are born a witch is that things just seem to come together for you. People just want to give you things. Just do things that you don't want to do yourself. You might want to have like a project coming up and you don't want to do it, and somebody volunteers to do the whole project for you, and you both get a plus on it, which is awesome. Another way you know that you were born a witch is your interest in the supernatural, your interest in ghosts and astrology and candles and crystals and ghost hauntings and horror movies, and just wanting to know more, knowing as a witch. Because when you become a witch, you know that there is more out there to know than you currently know right now. That's the truth. That is the truth. One sign that you are also born a witch is that you can just wish, W-I-S-H. You can just wish for something and it'll come true. Another sign is, of course, if it runs in your bloodline. For me personally, I am a witch through my aunts, through the females in my family. The females in my family have always been witchy. They have always been able to attract good and positivity and abundance, all good things to them, by just wishing for it. By just wishing for it. Things just seem to work out for the females in my family. And many of them, like myself, is very much involved in the occult practices. Witchcraft is working with the energy found in nature to bring about real significant and permanently positive change. Real significant and permanently positive change through witchcraft. That's the definition of witchcraft. That's the only definition of witchcraft. Anybody else, especially those members of the church, the Christian church, that try to corrupt it, is a jackass. And no, I will not apologize for that, because it's the truth. That's the truth. Deal with it. Just deal with it. You're here on my page, on this account, to get the truth. And that's what I'm going to give you as a high priestess. The difference from people who are made witches or become witches is things have happened to them in their past. A lot of people, because I guess we already know this, a lot of people who became witches are former Christians, are former Muslims, are former Buddhists, are former followers of the Jewish faith. They come from the Abrahamic faith. And like I just said, I was a former devout follower of Christ. Don't forget that. Don't let that slip your mind. I was a former devout devotee of Jesus Christ. Okay? I was baptized. They're not alive no more. I had godparents. I went to church like 3 times a week. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about Jesus Christ. Okay? A lot of people who become witches are former members of the Abrahamic faith. Muslim, Jewish. You may not like to say it like that, but it's true. But it's true. And they leave those religions because, not just because they are basically a cult. We know how big and powerful Christianity is a cult. We know that Christian nationalists, Christian fascists are real. They are the far right of the far right. They're psychopaths. They are. They're sick. They're money hungry. They tell you things, especially their prophets of Christ will say, oh, if you sow $10,000 into my ministry, you will get back $20,000. But in reality, that member of the church, that follower of that prophet, is now $20,000 in debt. When if they had been a witch, they would not have been in debt. That's the truth. Many of you here are former Christians, Muslims, and followers of the Jewish faith. Many of you here, you don't have to tell me your name. I know who you are. Okay, I know who you are. And you became a witch because you want real, significant, and permanently positive change that you cannot find, that you have not been able to find through Jesus or through Muhammad, or through worshiping Hello Kitty. Wow, you know what I'm saying? That's the truth. Christianity has nothing to offer a happy, healthy individual. Listen very carefully. Christianity and Islam has nothing to offer a healthy, happy individual. They have nothing for you. They will never have anything for you. They can't have anything for you. Why? Because you want real, significant, and permanently positive change. You know, when you do a spell, you also have to do real world action. When you are a Christian or Muslim, you just wait on Jesus or Muhammad to work for you while you do nothing, basically, right? Right. Because Christians tell you, put your faith in Christ. Muslims tell you, put your faith in Muhammad. And then nothing happens. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. Why? Because nothing changed. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Many of you here now are former Christians and former Muslims. I know it. I know it. And you became a witch because you want that control over your life that the Christians and the Muslims took away. Many of you here became witches because you want that control over your life that the Christians and the Muslims and those of the Jewish faith took away. People of the Abrahamic faith took away. Maybe you are a witch right now who has been through oppression. Maybe you are from a third world country, and I do mean that in quotation marks. Maybe you are from a third world country, and I do mean that in quotation marks, because what exactly is a third world country? America can very, very well be a third world country, and you know what? I think we're close to being one. I think America is close to being one of those shithole countries that those of the far right is always talking about. People that say make America great again. They're pretty close to becoming that. If we don't have more witches to work with the energy found in nature to counteract that. Witches are not witches to control other people. People who become witches are not witches because they want to control other people. They don't give a shit about those people. People who become witches want control over their own lives. They don't give a shit about David down the street. To hell with David. People who become witches want control over their own lives. Over the key word being there, another key word being own, their own lives. Because no witch should be going through life the hard way. No witch should go through life the hard way. Everybody else who is not witches, too bad, too sad, oh well, so what? And no, that's not harsh or cold to say. It's the truth. It is the truth. People who become witches do have a little bit of a harder time gets him into the craft because they are maybe the first witch in their family. That's why it's so important to come under the covering of a real high priestess or a real high priest, or follow a real coven who he or she knows what they're talking about and they produce results. You need to be under a high priestess or a high priest who is going to tell you the truth, give you correction, and give you corrective criticism. Good criticism. Not criticism and saying, oh, you're stupid, you're wrong. That's not how you do it. That's not a coven, that's a cult. If your coven, if you're in one, is constantly degrading you, putting you down, basically treating you like you're a piece of shit, that's a cult. Your high priest or your high priestess should not be talking to you like that. Like, what the fuck? That's when you speak up. You don't keep silent. I don't care what title you have earned, because you have to earn the title of a high priest or a high priestess. It's not just given to you. It doesn't matter what title you have earned. You don't get to disrespect anybody. You don't. And if you are a devotee of Hecate, she's not going to let you go on your merry way either. She's not. She's not. So that's why I say, be sure that being a witch is what you want. Because witches tend to have, well, it's not really a tendency. Witches normally have a target on their back just because they call themselves witches. Like, you tell somebody who don't understand that you are a witch, they may, give you a dirty look, or they may talk down to you, or they may try to save your soul. Oh, come back to Jesus, child. Jesus loves you. Jesus doesn't want anybody to perish. You know what? Shut the fuck up. Okay? Shut the fuck up, you dumb bitch. Shut the fuck up. Like, what? You don't get to talk to people like that. You do not get to talk to people like that. Are you a retard? Are you a retard? That's what I say to people who say shit like that to me, and I feel like I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong. I'm not being arrogant. It's the truth. You don't get to talk to people like that at all and think it's going to be well received, because, like I always say, not every witch is love and light. Not every witch is love and light. Not every witch is nice. Not every witch is rainbows and colors. Not every witch is like that. And it would not be nice if they were, because we need witches who are fierce, who is on fire for their devotee, fire for Hecate, who is strong and courageous and willing to stand up, not just for themselves, but for people who can't stand for themselves. We need more witches who have a backbone. That's one thing that people who are born witches and people who become witches have in common. They both have a backbone. People who are born witches or who become witches are not spineless jellyfish. They're not spineless jellyfish. No, not at all. Not at all. You will not find a real authentic witch that is well seasoned, that has been a witch for a long time now, who does not have a backbone, that does not have balls. Okay? I understand if you first become a witch and of course you're nervous, you're going into the occult, you're going into the supernatural, you're seeking out, you're hungry for real, significant, and permanently positive change through witchcraft. So you may be a little bit nervous or afraid, but as you continue to do witchcraft and see the results of your spells, rituals, hexes, and curses, that fear will go away. That fear will go away. It has to go away because your chosen devotee will not allow you to live in fear. Your chosen ancestor will not allow you to live in fear. Your chosen familiar spirit animal will not allow you to live in fear. You will be fearless. You will be without fear. Because once you experience the supernatural, the paranormal, there's nothing to scare you. There's nothing that will make you pee yourself or will give you nightmares, because you will be well seasoned. As you continue to do witchcraft, you will be well seasoned on how to change your life through witchcraft. May you be a natural witch or become a witch. You will have everything you need. I said this earlier. When you become a witch, you are definitely much more intuitive. When you are born a witch, you were born psychic. You were born you were just born knowing the future. I guess people sometimes call witches also prophets, but I don't like the word prophet when describing a witch that is psychic, because when you think of a prophet, you think of a follower of Christ. You think of Christ himself. So to separate, I say psychic or medium. I don't like the word prophet. Don't ever call me Prophet Autumn. You call me Priestess Autumn. You never call me prophet. That's reserved for a Christian that represents Christ. And I'm not a Christian, as we all know. Well, you should know. I'm a former Christian, but I'm not one now. Okay? Another difference between those who become witches, the people who choose to become witches, they do have a lot of studying to do. They have a lot of reading to do. They have a lot of videos like this live broadcast to do. And they have to really soak it in. And then people who are born witches can pick and choose how they want to incorporate what they have learned into their craft. You see, when people are born witches, like myself, it may not be so easy to just choose, because it's already inside of you what you can and cannot do. Like for me, I can't do sigils. I can't do that. I am not great with doing witchcraft with crystals. I'm great with witchcraft when it comes to candles, when it comes to writing out my spells, but not crystals, not sigils, not ruins, not making puppets. But candle magic is my specialty. My element is water. I am a Scorpio. And you might say, of course you're a Scorpio, you're so psychic. Not all Scorpios are psychic. They may be intuitive, but they're not psychic. You see, when you're intuitive, there's always room for error. But when you are born psychic like myself, there is no room for error. Just know. You just know the future. You just know the future. And you are not wrong. You can put any amount of money down. You're just not wrong. So as somebody who became a witch, you have to study. And it's a lot of studying. Just choose one thing that really interests you to make it easier on yourself. Just choose one thing that really interests you in the craft and focus on that. You don't have to learn everything, okay? If you're becoming a witch, you don't have to learn everything. Just, yes, in witchcraft, you can actually pick and choose. You can actually pick and choose. You're not required, as a witch, you're not required to do anything. Keep that in mind. As a witch, you are not required ever, you're not obligated ever to do anything. It's always your choice. That's just like it's the choice of those who are born witches to answer the call of the craft. It was my choice to answer the call of Hecate. It was my choice. I made the decision. I made the decision, not her. It was my choice. I could have easily said no. And guess what? Hecate would have been fine with that. She would have just sourced out somebody else. She would not have held it against me. And if I did someday decide to choose her, she would be right there at the crossroads waiting for me. But she didn't have to because I said yes. So if Hecate or any deity, any god or goddess is calling you, it's your choice to say yes or no. And guess what? They will not hold it against you if you say no. Why? Because no is a complete sentence. No is no. So you decide. It's always the witch's choice. It's always the witch's choice. It's never, you must do this, or I will get you. Who are you talking to? Who you gonna get? Who you gonna get? It's always the choice of the witch. And every witch has got to make a choice. If you don't make a choice, that God, that goddess, that deity, that ancestor, that familiar, that spirit animal will keep hounding you until you give a yes or no answer. They're not going to pressure you. They're not going to, hold your head underwater. No, they're not going to do that. Okay? But they need an answer. It is always the choice of the witch. Always. Nobody can make that decision for you. Nobody can make that decision for you. Every witch has got to make a choice. Whatever your choice is, that's entirely up to you. Whatever choice you make is the right choice. Because it's your choice. It's your choice. The differences between those who are born witches and those who become witches is a lot of differences, but there's also one big similarity, and that's what I said at the beginning of this broadcast, and that is these witches, these two groups of witches, they want real significant and permanently positive change through witchcraft, and most of them were either raised in the Abrahamic faith or they left the Abrahamic faith. Those are the two stark similarities between those who are born witches and those who become witches. Two things that are different about those two groups of people is that when you are born a witch, you have this interest already in the supernatural and the paranormal. And on top of that, you have supernatural and paranormal experiences. When you are becoming a witch, you will start to have those supernatural and paranormal experiences. Because now you are going towards having real significant and permanently positive change through witchcraft. So you have to go farther into the occult. Don't let the word occult scare you. You know, some people hear the word occult and they start crying, about to piss themselves. The word occult. That's a scary word. No, it's not. It just means you have delved deep into the supernatural and paranormal. That's all that means. It's not something to be scared of. So when you become a witch, you do begin to have experiences of the supernatural and the paranormal, and they can be a little bit extreme. That's why I say you have to come under the covering of a genuine, authentic, anointed, or appointed high priest or high priestess to be able to guide you on this new journey of becoming a witch, so you don't have to go it alone. Lots of people don't start out as solitary witches. They may become solitary witches when they become more experienced, when they become more seasoned, but not too many witches start off as solitary. I didn't. I started off in a coven here in New York. And then I branched off and started my own coven. Then I was anointed and appointed by Hecate, the Queen of Witches. I ran a very successful coven here in New York City. When I became solitary, I knew that I was ready to lead my own coven. I just knew I was ready to lead my own coven towards real significant and permanently positive change through witchcraft. The differences between those who are born witches and those who become witches are not so long. Not so long. But it's important to know the difference so you know what you are and what you are not. Many witches today in 2023 on August 8th, also known as the Lion's Gate, the portal opening, which is a day of manifestation, become witches because they want control over their own lives. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be demanded to do something. They don't want to be bossed around. Or maybe some people become witches because they are tired of being bullied. They are tired of getting their ass kicked. Yeah. But I believe that our similarities, I believe that our similarities between people who are born witches and those who become witches are much greater. Because we all have 3 goals as a witch, and that is real significant and permanently positive change through witchcraft, to not go through life the hard way, because no witch should be going through life the hard way. Everybody else can. Too bad. So sad. Who cares? Whatever. What happens to people who are not witches will not happen to you. Why? Because you are under the covering of your chosen God or goddess. Now listen, if you don't have a god or goddess or deity or ancestor or familiar or spirit animal right now that you are under the covering of, guess what? It's okay. It's okay. It will come to you when you are ready. So don't think that you are less of a witch just because you don't have an ancestor or a god or a goddess that you work exclusively with. It will come to you when you are ready. So don't stress yourself out. Stop stressing yourself out just because you don't have yet a god or goddess that you honor and worship and praise and give offerings to, give sacrifices to. It will come to you when you are ready. You are not missing out on anything. Just because you don't have a god or goddess that you worship does not mean you are missing out on anything. You are not missing out on anything. Nothing. Everything will be given to you when you are ready. And it will be given to you faster if you do, because you must do real world action after every spell that you do. You must. you must do real world action. If you call yourself a witch, there has to be real world action behind your spell work, or that spell will not work at all. That means you have to do something. Because like I say, my favorite saying of mine is nothing changes if nothing changes. You have to do something. That's up to you to figure out what you have to do. That's up to you to figure out what you need to do. And because you're a witch, or becoming a witch, you're super smart, you are super bright, you will figure it out. You will figure it out. The answer will come to you. How to do what real world action you need to do. So this was my, I'm doing it a long time. I was streaming for a long time. It was 40 minutes. So this was my broadcast tonight for the differences between people who are witches and people who become witches. Now you know the difference between the two, and that our differences are not very far apart. And now I will let you witches go. I will, of course, leave this up for the replay. I may go live later on tonight on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're not following me yet on Twitter and Facebook, my Facebook page is Magically Blessed, and my Twitter page is I don't know what is Twitter called now. X. Is that what it's called now? Is Twitter called X? You know what? You know what's so funny? I don't even know what sound X makes. You know, Twitter is called X now, right? I don't even know what sound X makes. What sound does it make? You know how the letters make a sound like A, I. But what the fuck does X make? What kind of sound does X make? But look, I'm calling it Twitter, okay? Shit. Because that's what it is, okay? So I may go live later on tonight on Facebook and Twitter. My Twitter handle is Priestess Autumn, and my Facebook page once again is Magically Blessed. Just type in type it in the search engine and come find me live later on, probably maybe around 7:30, because I feel like I need to talk to some witches about fearing. Should witches fear? Should witches have a healthy fear like the Christians do of their own gods and goddesses? Should we? That's a broadcast that I feel needs to be set out there. So I may go live with that around 7:30. So thank you, witches, for joining me for this live pop-up broadcast. Be sure to share this broadcast in your own story, on your own stories, on your own social media platforms, and tell all your friends and family who are witches that there is a high priestess here in New York who is anointed and appointed by the Queen of Witches to bring into the lives of all witches real, significant, and permanently positive change through witchcraft. And with that being said, I now release you into the rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.